All right. Yesterday I made the claim that all of the IDEs suck because they, for the most part, have the same user metaphor. They have a file explorer on the left and a code editor on the right, kind of like what we're looking at now with Visual Code. And I made the claim that using the file explorer is an anti-pattern and you shouldn't do it. And I'm going to blow that out a little bit. First of all, from the standpoint of ergonomics, if you want to find something, the worst experience I can imagine is having to manually use your mouse to click around inside of all of these directories to, hopefully find something. That's a little bit of looking for the needle in the haystack. I'll come back to that. So the ergonomics are terrible, and anytime, if you're an engineer, anytime you find yourself using the mouse, you should question what you're doing. You really should not have to use the mouse. The other reason why the file explorer is a pretty serious anti-pattern is because it essentially creates a second index, meaning the index, the thing that you use to index information is so that you can retrieve it quickly from working memory. The file explorer is a form of index that allows you to categorize information, but that's not the index that you should use. The index that you should use is actually the bounded contexts that make up the system that you're working on. Um, if you're curious about bounded contexts, you can just look on YouTube for um, domain-driven design, anything by Eric Evans. But the bounded contexts that make up your system, that should form the primary heuristic for categorizing information in your system. It should be the index for finding stuff. If you have two separate indexes and they don't agree, which is frequently the case, then you're kind of in trouble. And if you assume that whoever wrote the system that you're working on follows all of the conventions around file organization, that's a pretty big assumption. And you will probably find that many engineers aren't as conscientious as you would hope. So if the file explorer is bad, and if you shouldn't use it, which you should not, uh, what is the alternative? Well, this is where fuzziness is so important. Fuzziness is in itself a fascinating topic, but because of the way fuzzy search works, it should be possible for you to map your mental model of the bounded context of your domain onto your development environment and find what you're looking for by navigating your actual domain. So the way fuzziness works in Visual Code is Command P, and that will open up the fuzzy finder. So here I'm just going to start typing in this system, which is sample code I got from GitHub. One of the primary bounded contexts is risk management. So I'm going to start typing risk management. And now, as you can see, I'm able to narrow my search within the within the context of a specific problem domain. And I can further narrow by entity type. The way this system happens to be organized is value objects are uh, specified as domain objects. So if I narrow my search to domain, now I can find every entity that is part of the risk management domain in this system. So this is how you should find stuff in a software system. It should not be clicking around in a file explorer, which is total garbage. You should not be doing that. Now, what if you don't use Visual Code? And that's actually kind of neat. As good as this is, this this is a terrible user experience because, as you can see, the uh, the information that you can see is constrained by the width of this widget. I don't like this. In another environment, let's see here. In Vim, which is actually what I use, you can do much the same thing. You can say Control P. I have Control P mapped, but as you can see in Vim, you can. I'm gonna move my head here. My head's in the way. All right, that's better. In Vim, I have my environment set up so that Control P will open fuzzy file finding. I can do the same narrowing activity, so risk management, domain, and now I have, not only do I have all of the entities that fit into the bounded context, but by arrowing up and down, I can get a peek preview window on the right. Um, by the way, in Vim, the same thing is available for buffers, so you can get a peek window into open buffers, which is kind of awesome. So for reading code, which is sort of the main activity that you do as a LLM supervisor, the IDEs are not good. They're not really helpful for supervision tasks. For supervision tasks, I really recommend that you get good at Vim because it's really great for being able to navigate um, complex code lines quickly without having to mess around with the suckiness of a file explorer. Uh, so that is my rant for the day.